What's up, Eagles fans? Welcome into the All-22 review presented by the Community College of Philadelphia. I'm Fran Duffy, joined by NFL Film senior producer Greg Cosell. It was a thrilling victory for the Eagles up in MetLife Stadium today in East Rutherford, New Jersey. A lot of big plays from this game, especially on the offensive side of the ball. Let's start, though, on defense with the first play of our breakdown. So, Greg, let's start on that opening drive for the New York Giants. And it was not a good possession for the Eagles defense to start. They end up scoring a touchdown on this drive. But let's look at one of the big plays. It was a sluggo route, a double move at the top of the screen here from Roger Lewis against Ronald Darby.
Well, they started the game out doing essentially what they did week 3 when these two teams played, which was the quick throws, the three-step quick game, the timing throws, and they ran a lot of slants on the first possession, and then they got later in the first possession, and as you said, they ran sluggo, which is slant and go. And that's Roger Lewis showing the slant. He's the single receiver to the boundary side of the field, what we call X-ISO, and you'll see it's a very simple route. Right there, he breaks in, and boom. Ronald Darby jumps the slant because he'd seen a bunch already, and I'm sure all week they talked about defending the slant. But the problem was he's playing with such a deep cushion that when you try to defend the slant that way, you get caught. You're stuck. So the go part beats him pretty easily, and it was a really good throw by Eli.
Yeah, it was kind of a bad harbinger for how the rest of the day would go because Ronald Darby did give up a couple of big plays in this game.
Targeted a lot in this game, too.
Yeah, absolutely. And so you saw the quick game work early. They got the double move, which they worked in throughout the course of the game. Not a good start. Giants jump up 6-0. So the Giants get on the board, the Eagles get the ball, and Nick Foles drives them down the field, and they punch it into the end zone for a touchdown to Alshon Jeffrey. And Greg, let's take a look at this play. Let's see what Nick Foles is seeing here before the snap of the football.
Yeah, Alshon Jeffrey was not the primary receiver here. He was not the number one in the progression, because what you're going to see here is Nick's going to take the snap, and he's actually going to look to his left, because they had really a two-man route concept. They had Mac Hollins running a corner route, and they had, I believe it was Ertz working in the flat. And Ertz works into the flat. And it's kind of what we call a smash concept, where you're trying to work a throw off the corner. But the corner, in this case Eli Apple, stayed deep. And what happens here is he stays outside, so this throw is not there because he really wanted Hollins. So what we can do, we'll clear it in a sec, but there's Jeffrey up top. He's the single receiver to the boundary, but he was not the primary read. So keep your focus down below initially to what we just drew with Hollins and with Ertz. And you can see right here, so he doesn't have the throw because, look, he really wanted Hollins on this route. Ertz is taken away in the flat. None of this is available. So what you get now is you start working backside. You start working here. There's Jeffrey right here. It becomes a second reaction play. And not every second reaction play involves a quarterback running around. Sure. This is a really good job by Jeffrey, understanding that his initial route, which was an in-breaker, is not there. Don't run into the defense. Work back to open area. And Foles does a really, really good job here as we got this run of staying in the pocket. See, that's a second reaction play without leaving the pocket. That's really good quarterbacking, understanding his progression. Jeffrey does a great job of giving him a place to throw the football. And
understand that those plays, they're not random. Those receivers, the quarterback, they have rules that they go through in those situations where it's late in the down, your initial route's taken away. Well, you got to cut back and get open and uncover for the quarterback. That's exactly what Alshon did in the red zone.
That was a really good job in the red zone.
All right, so the Eagles go up on the board 7-6 now. Let's get to the next play. All right, and that next play is going to be this interception by Ronald Darby. But before we get to the pick, Greg, it did not look good for this Eagles defense early on in this game because you had that opening touchdown and then they scored 2 more. Tavares King on another double move there, and then you had the long catch and run from Sterling Shepard in the slot. Makes it 20-7 for the Giants, and now they've got the football around midfield, and you're wondering, all right, well, what's going on here? But then you come up with a big play.
And that was absolutely critical, and we really can run this play and see it. This was Ronald Darby's interception. And you can see this is a coverage we've seen the Eagles play a lot this year, Fran. It's cover 3, which is a basic coverage, but they play it with their corners a good 8 to 10 yards with a cushion, and the middle safety not quite as deep as you normally see in cover 3. But this turned out to be a really good play by Ronald Darby because When you're playing with such a cushion, the reason you do that is you don't want your corners to have to turn their body. And this is such a great job. Here's Darby. We'll just point him out right here. And here's Roger Lewis right here. And this is such a good job. You can clear it and we can let it run. And I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about. Because as this play starts, if you freeze it right about here, perfect, because what you're hoping happens here, particularly with a free release to develop some velocity with your receiver, is that you get the corner to turn. That's critical. But Darby does a great job. He never comes out of his back pedal. So by never coming out of his back pedal, he essentially can run the route for the receiver. And that's exactly what he does here. And you can see this. He stays square, and therefore he's able to play the route beautifully. That was a big-time play in a critical situation by Darby because, as you said, it was 20-7 here, and this was not looking good for the Eagles.
Yeah, that is not easy for a defensive back to have a receiver coming straight at him, attacking his technique.
With free access.
And to stay disciplined and be able to keep eyes on the football, break on that route.
Yep.
Great play by Darby, especially in a game where, like we said earlier, he had been targeted a few times in this game.
And
so
he would continue to get targeted.
Yes, he would. So big play. To me, Greg, this was the momentum swing. This kind of swung the game back for the Eagles in this game. We'll show you exactly why right now. So after the Ronald Darby interception, the Eagles have the football deep in Giants territory, and it's 3rd down, and you come up with a big play, a touchdown pass from Nick Foles to Zach Ertz on a concept we've seen 100 times. Just a little bit of a different look here from the Eagles offense.
Yeah, it's the same idea. We've seen this so many times this year. What do they try to do? They try to get Zach Ertz isolated on a defensive back, on a safety. And that's what you're going to get here. You can go back to week 5 when he scored against Branch. There's been so many examples of this during the season. What they do is they either have 2 or 3 tight ends to one side of the field, okay? And here, Ertz is the inside guy, and that's Trey Burton, okay? And it happens to be a 3 tight end set, but we're going to focus on the side with Ertz and Burton because as you just showed, Fran, what are they trying to do? They want Ertz one-on-one with the safety Adams right here. So what do? As this play starts, Burton releases wide. He takes the corner out right here. What do you get? There's Burton releasing wide. Selleck's over here. You got the whole field, and you have the one-on-one, the isolation. This is a staple red zone concept. How many touchdowns has Zach Ertz himself scored this way? You can clear it, and you see exactly what happens. You're trusting that he wins, and Nick Foles will throw him the football. I wouldn't call that wide open, but that's what happens in the red zone. You have to make those kinds of tight throws. They got the matchup they wanted by formation, by route concept. We've seen it so many times, another red zone touchdown.
That was one of the big things you were worried about as an Eagles fan coming into this game, right, was situational football with the transition from Carson Wentz to Nick Foles. Were they going to do well offensively on 3rd down? And in the red zone, this Eagles coaching staff continues to find ways to make plays for their playmakers. So a great play there by Nick Foles to Zach Ertz, gets the Eagles back on the board and really helps propel the momentum back in the Eagles' favor. So the touchdown by Zach Ertz makes it 20-14 in favor of the Giants. The Giants get the ball back, and the Eagles force a 3-and-out and a punt. So what do? You get a punt block here, and the momentum continues swinging for the Eagles. And we saw the replay of this, and we're sitting there loving what we see from this Eagles special teams unit. Let's break this down and how it's really it's very similar to what you see from a defensive line and a defensive front 7 with pass rush.
Well, start with your point about just separating this because I think that's a really good point. You want to, you clear that out, and everything is going to work right in here. And that's a really important point. That's what they were trying to do. But notice what you have here. You have 4 defenders, and you have 3 blockers. But this is really a pass rush concept. This is just a stunt. It's really with a picker and a looper. So what you're going to have is Brayman right here, who the Eagles just signed, and a great special teams player. He's the picker. Who's the looper? Grugier Hill. He comes around. Very basic stuff. It's just like a pass rush. So just watch this. That's exactly what happens. They do a really, really good job, really well done. I mean, it's a stunt.
Yeah.
That's about as good as it gets, and it has an overload element because it starts out with 4-on-3, so that causes a little hesitation and a little confusion for those 3 guys on the Giants inside. But when all is said and done, it's an inside stunt with a picker and a looper executed perfectly.
Yeah, just like you would attack a running back in protection. That personal protector, number 27 there for the Giants, he's back there and he's going with the pinner in Brayman, and he doesn't react well enough to Kamu Grugier-Hill coming in, and Grugier-Hill's been a great special teamer for the Eagles all season long. So huge momentum swing. You get the Ertz touchdown, which started with the Darby interception. Now you get the punt block. What does that lead to? That's the next play. So a few minutes ago, the Eagles were down 20-7. We're all wondering what is going on here in MetLife. And now so many plays have happened. The Eagles have now got the momentum in their favor. A red zone play, really good design here from this Eagles offensive coaching staff. Show us what we're seeing here.
We've shown a lot of red zone touchdowns this year, haven't we?
Yeah, more than a few.
Yeah, this is really good design. It's a 3-by-1 set with 2 tight ends on the field. Ertz is at the bottom as the single receiver. He's not really part of the play because what they're going to do here, it's a 3-man route concept to the wide side of the field, to the trip side of the field. You're going to have Aguilar. He's going to run vertically. And you know why that's critical? He needs to occupy this safety. Because then the other 2 routes are you're going to get, this is Jeffrey running right inside here on a little quick in-breaker. And then you're going to get Burton, the second tight end, running vertical here. So you have 2 verts really. You had to control that safety. So now, how do you handle these 2 guys? Now, you don't know exactly how they're going to react, but this play will show you how they reacted.
It's a really good job of just understanding who you're going up against.
So right here.
DRC is an aggressive corner. He's a guy that wants to jump routes. And so knowing full well his skill set, that he wants to try and jump routes, they bring Alshon here on that slant like you showed. And now Trey Burton is just leaking right in behind. And
keep one thing in mind. This is 3rd and 5. So these guys, they're playing the sticks. They're thinking that this throw is going to go to Jeffrey. How many times have the Eagles made that kind of throw to Jeffrey on 3rd and 6 or less? So now they're jumping that. You had the 2 verticals. Not possible. This Aguilar's vertical shows quicker, so the safety Thompson reacts to that. And what do you get? Burton in the end zone, no one is covering him as we see this. Really a well-designed play. Obviously, you don't specifically know what the defensive reaction will be, but the route concept really helps you, I don't want to say dictate it, but it allows that to happen.
So the Eagles go up 21-20. They do end up giving up that field goal before halftime, so they lose the lead going into the locker room. But a great job on those 4 big plays there to close out the second quarter to really get themselves back into this game. And it all ended with that great design there on the touchdown to Trey Burton. So, Greg, let's now fast forward to late in this game. The Eagles are now up 31-29. We're skipping over a touchdown pass to Nelson Aguilar that did happen in the red zone, by the way. And you see now the Eagles are driving the football again. They're in the high red zone, and you get one of their staple pass concepts, the 3-level stretch.
We talk concepts all the time with the Eagles pass offense. We saw red zone touchdowns that we showed, Fran, that were concepts that we see almost every week. And this is that 3-level stretch or flood concept. And it works very well against zone, whether it's cover 3 or cover 4, which is quarters, which is what the Giants end up playing here. So what you're going to do here is you're going to have Jeffrey. He's going to run kind of a post-type route. You're going to have Aguilar. He's going to run corner route, and you're going to have Burton, who works in the flat. Those are the 3 levels. Jeffrey long, Aguilar intermediate, Burton short. That's why we call a 3-level stretch. You're stretching the zone defense and making it very difficult because you're going to have an outside deep defender who's got to run with Jeffrey, freeze it right here, perfect. You're going to have a flat defender right here in DRC. He has to be aware of the flat throw, so it's very difficult for him to get underneath this route. So they put these defenders in a bind. How do they play this? That's the whole point of this concept. It's a really effective concept against zone coverage. And you're going to see it play out, and therefore Aguilar is wide open, makes the catch, gets them further in the red zone here, of course, and they end up with a field goal that makes it 34-29.
So Aguilar stays in bounds, keeps the clock moving, which was absolutely important on that play. The Eagles end up kicking a field goal. That's your final score. It was a game, Greg, and I don't know, final thoughts.
It wasn't quite that easy, the final score, as we were watching.
No, absolutely not. But overall, Nick Foles had a pretty good game today.
Very impressive performance. The key, obviously, this is not profound, was no turnovers. He was efficient, made some really good throws, made a couple of really good throws under pressure. And the key, the absolute key, which some was him, some was concepts, red zone touchdowns.
Field goals instead of touchdowns instead of field goals.
Exactly.
Absolutely
That's
important in this game.
The critical part.
So great game there from the Eagles. Overall, coming out with the win. They clinch a first-round bye. Can they clinch that #1 seed and home field advantage? We will find out next Monday night against the Oakland Raiders. And to preview that matchup, stay tuned for more right here on PhiladelphiaEagles.com.